It had hair all over its body other than the face itself.
There are, in fact, 4 different types of, what we think of as Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Very wide, pronounced nose. There was also a very ominous odor.
Phase 1 is to identify opportunities. I walked into a small clearing in less than 10-15 feet away from this enormous creature, and it scared the living hell out of me. Phase 2 is conducting investigations both of witnesses and locations. The size of the thing, it was 4 or 5 feet across the shoulders. Phase 3 is profiling research areas, what's there, how they move, feeding, things like that. About 8 feet tall, I guessed around 800 pounds. It was massive. I had no idea that anything like that existed. Phase 4 is create an intercept plan. I decided to shoot in the air to see if maybe it would scare it off. Phase 5 is the intercept and resolve the issue phase. It didn't do anything, didn't react, and then I heard a noise from my right rear, and from out behind some brush come another one and walked over by the first one. That's when I decided to do what the dog did. I took off running. Welcome to Witness of the Unknown. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Witness of the Unknown. I have a very special guest today, and this one's special because it's sort of a direct link to an event that happened to me when I was 18. That's something that's been, really affected my life over the years. For anyone who's ever read my book In Search of the Unknown or has heard me talk on different radio shows about what we refer to now as the Clark Ranch incident back in 1976, where me and 3 of my buddies, after meeting John Green and Renee DeHinden, how we were going to help them in the field and their work and subject of Bigfoot. So me and my friends sat around at school one day and we kind of talked about, well, has anybody heard anything in their area? Any weird noises? Anybody seen anything? And one of the guys who lived in Roy, Washington said, well, out at the Clark Ranch, they've been hearing a bunch of weird screams at night, for the past couple of weeks. So I said, well, can you get permission for us to go out there and, snoop around their property? So he did that, and we went to his house in Roy. Then we took our backpacks, we hiked the railroad tracks, a relative short distance to the Clark Ranch. The family there pointed the direction out towards the woods where they'd been hearing the noises at night, and off we went. And just in a nutshell, we ended up being surrounded for the whole night by at least 4 of these things. One of the guys saw one. Another one of the guys was pulled partway out of the tent by one. For us, it was a pretty harrowing night, actually. So my guest, Dwayne, had his own encounter there when he was a boy. Dwayne, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be on the show. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and it is a pleasure to share my story with you guys. It's a real... we've talked earlier. I don't like the word story because for me it implies fake. But I'd love to share my reality with you.
Well, and again, it's kind of fascinating to me because it's a direct link to what happened to us. And before we start, everyone, be sure to check out my website, williamjevning.com. And if anyone's had their own encounter that they're willing to talk to me about, you can get a hold of me at my personal email, williamjevning@yahoo.com, or you can submit it on the website. And be sure to check out our Facebook page also, the JRG Bigfoot Research page. Anyway, Dwayne, let's go back to that time, and that was in the early 70s, right?
Yeah, when you're a kid, between 8 and 10 years old, you don't pay attention to dates and times and yada yada. You just pay attention to what the hell you're doing and having fun. But yeah, I'm guessing. I've gone back. I've talked to my mom and whatnot because she was there, and done the math on it. It's right around 72, 73, right around in there. And
okay, so I guess walk us into what happened. How did you end up in that place, and what was going on?
I'll go backwards a little bit. I lived in Lake City, Lakewood, Washington, and I had a friend of mine across the street, Darby. And I'm hoping he hears this show because I'd love to get a hold of him because he has the rest of the story or reality. And we were buddies, but he moved away, and there was a real good opportunity for his mom, single mom, son, and a daughter out in Roy. You know, it was an opportunity they couldn't refuse. It was an elderly couple. The old man had to go to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. You know, okay, stuff we don't need to know. So she took it, and part of the contingency was, I'll buy you guys some horses if you want to go out there. Well, that's old kids. It was a bummer for me because I lost my buddy. But anyway, so that happened. But the parents were still friends, and I guess we used to go out there. And ironically, I can't remember ever being there but this one night and day. So we were out there. We showed up. I don't know what time it was. I'm going to say about 5 o'clock, right around in there. And this is Roy, Washington, Muck Creek. They lived on Muck Creek, which fed into Muck Lake. Anybody from Roy, I'm sure will know. Desolate little town. You roll in there. There's a sign that says speed trap. You take a left. There's Roy Tavern. There's Judge Roy Beans. And you go a little farther. You take a right, and there was a sign that said Jesus loves you. And that's about all I remember as a kid. No, you take a left or a right anywhere, and it's 20 miles of gravel road, and you get to a house, and there you are, I guess. And it's kind of still that way. I haven't been there in a while. I do want to go back and find my location. Anyway, so I'll get to the story. So we show up. We're a little early. My buddy's not there. He's at a friend. And, of course, a friend's house is, 10 miles away, whatever it may be. So we get there, and I'm like, well, where's Darby? Well, he's at his friend. So they send his sister up on the horse to go, get my buddy. And, well, in the meantime, while this is happening, across the street from their house is like, I don't know whether they call it a pond, a swamp, whatever. But there was a giant boulder at one end of it, and it was about, I'd say from the boulder, there was a big giant boulder. It was really distinct, big giant boulder. And it went out maybe 30 feet, and then it hit the just brush. And you couldn't see 2 feet into this brush, 180 degrees either way. Behind you was the gravel road. So I'm sitting there doing what kids do, playing in the water. I'm finding little frogs, eggs, frogs, whatever. This is awesome. And before that, I've never been camping. I don't know anything about anything. I have no Bigfoot experience, no nothing. I may have seen a Patty thing, but at 8 years old, 10 years old, I don't care. So I'm playing on this rock. I'm finding all this stuff. Well, a little snake swims up to me. Your typical gardener snake, your Northwest gardener snake, little green striped back thing, swims up to me. I grab it, and I'm holding it, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. And it does its little stink thing, everything else. I'm like, this is awesome. This is cool. And I wanted to keep it, so I ran to the house. And, of course, my mom, not liking snakes, going, get that goddamn thing out of here. I says, well, there's snakes out here. Can I get a coffee can or something? Well, she grabs a whole Folgers can, from somewhere. She found one. And I got it. And I said, can you poke some holes in the lid? It still had the lid. And this was back before they were plastic. It was a metal can. She pokes holes in the lid. And I run out. I run back out to this rock. And I'm like, this is awesome. So I sit there and I'm looking around. And I hear a little splash. I hear some cracking and some creaking. And I'm looking up, and again, you can't see 2 feet into this brush. But I hear a little crack, little creak, whatnot, and I'm thinking nothing of it. I have no woods experience whatsoever, but this is kind of awesome. I'm by myself. And I hear a little splash. I look up, I don't see anything, and here comes another snake. Oh, awesome. I grab it. It swims right up to the rock where I'm at. I grab it, throw it in the can. And within the next 15 to 20 minutes, I must have caught 15, 20 of these things. I filled this can up. I'm like, this is awesome. There's water snakes all over here, you know. I'm like, this is cool. So I fill up my jar, run back, and I'm like, look at all the snakes I got. And, of course, my mom freaks out. She's like, I don't want to see that shit. Oh, sorry. Anyway, and then this time my buddy gets back with his sister, and I'm like, hey, dude, man, check out all the snakes I got. He goes, where'd you get those? I said, out of the water. I said, they swam up to me on the rock. I said, I could hear them splashing. They were jumping in the water, and they swam up to me, and I caught them. I had this coffee can full of freaking garden snake, whatever you want to call them. And he's like, well, okay, cool. He says, but they're not. I said, I caught all these water snakes. And he's like, well, there aren't no water snakes. And I'm like, well, whatever. I caught them all out of the water. They all swam to me. I said, they jumped in the water. I heard them splash, and they all came to me. And he goes, there are no water snakes. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So again, we're just a couple little 8-year-olds. So we grab them, we throw them all out in the gravel and throw rocks at them and all that crazy crap little kids do. You know what I mean? Bam, you know, there's 20 snakes out there and whatever.
Sure.
So that was all good. And then we went and did our thing, and really can't remember what we did. Played just whatever, sword fighting, stick fighting, fill in the blank, you know. And then it got dark.
Mm-hmm.
Got dark. We're still out playing, and it got even funner. And I remember he said, and again, they had a couple of horses. His sister had a horse named Tonto, and his, ironically, was named Sasquatch. No joke. But yeah, and it was a gray colored horse, and the horse was a bastard. You know, he goes, "Hey, you want to ride on my horse?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And there was I'm sorry, I'm going to ping pong around. I think you've had an encounter. This thing is like a GIF file in your head, on the computer. It was a 1 minute thing.
Sure.
But it just rolls through your head. So to try and build everything around it is tough. So you kind of ping pong around, and my apologies for that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah,
that's okay. No, you're building the context.
Let me give you the layout. This house, again, gravel road that led up to it. A creek was on the left of the road, which is across the street from the house, and it took a turn right it was a dead end. It took a right turn and went to the left side of their house, which I believe is Muck Creek, and they had a fence. It was probably, I'd say, a third of an acre is where they had their horses. They had a giant porch. I'm trying to paint the scene here. And at the back of their property, to the left,
sure,
was, I call it a feeding station. I don't know. That's where they went and, fed all the horses. And to the right was like a little stable, I guess, where the horses slept. Again, I'm 8 years old. I don't know anything about this. But I'm like, okay, that's cool. And on the back of their house, on the very left side, they had two big floodlights out there. And on the right side, two big floodlights. And it barely made it to the end of the property, but you could see that the horses were there or not, whatnot. Anyway, earlier in that day, just as it was getting dark, hey, you want to ride the horse? I said, okay. So I run up to the fence, which was from the fence to the creek on the side of their property was maybe 20 feet. And on the other side of that creek, the bank went up. It was about 3 feet down to the creek. We were catching minnows all day. Anyway, and then the other side of that creek went up about, I want to say about 8-10 feet. It went up. It was pretty high on the other side. It was banked up really well, and that's where it went. And so we're out there playing, and I hop on the fence. We get on this horse. He's smacking it. We come by this little tree, and he's smacking the horse, and I fell off it, and the damn thing kicked me, and I did probably 360s in the air, fell on my ass, and to this day, I ain't riding no horses. That's too big a pet to be telling what to do. And so that kind of imprinted on my brain from that day. You play with your horse, the horse is an asshole. I I don't want nothing to do with that no more. So anyway, that went on, and so I was just interested in riding the horses. So we're out, and we got some sticks, and we're sword fighting. We're just doing our kid thing. And I come off the porch. We ran in. I got something to drink. I come off the porch, and I just catch out of the corner of my eye on this bank some, a red amber light, 2 of them. I just catch it, and I didn't think much of it, and I ran past it, and I smack him with a stick, and I catch it again, and I stop, and he runs way out by the horse. He wants me to chase him. He runs out by where the horse things are, and I look to my left, and there's this amber, red. I don't want to say red. It really wasn't red. It wasn't,
maybe a reddish tint.
But it was obvious eye shine, and and it caught my attention, and I looked at it. Sure. I turned to my left, and I looked at it, and I said, "Damn, what's that?" So I walk a little closer, and I'm staring at it, and here's these just 2 big ass. Again, I'm drawing off a 8-9-year-old memory. Glowing lights is what it looked like, and I'm pretty sure it was from the floodlights on the porch. Just look and it just caught my attention. So I walk a little close to the fence, and I'm staring at it, and I'm not focused because we're staring at the lights, riding the horses, blah blah blah. And it wasn't completely dark yet. Dawn had just happened. There was still a little bit of glow in the background, and I'm fixated on this. And I'm staring at it, and it starts to just move. These 2 eyes, light, shine, eye shine, whatever you want to call it, just starts to move left and right, just a little bit, about 2-3 inches left and right, and that really sold me on it. And I'm like, oh, goddamn! So I walk a little closer. I get all the way up to the fence, and it starts swaying, maybe 6 inches to a foot, left and right. And I'm just staring at that. Now my focus is starting to come in, and I'm getting the silhouette. And I'm like, damn, what the hell is that? It's what I'm thinking in my head, because I don't know what's out here. I've never been in the woods. I've been camping. And then I hear this, and I always feel stupid trying to do the noise. But I know. But it did a grunt. I just don't have the lungs this thing had, because I could feel it as much as I hear it. It just went kind of like that. I mean, it was kind of a cow noise. Is how a cow goes, and they kind of how they spit it off at the end.
Right.
But I'm fixated on this thing. I've been an animal lover all my life. I still am. And so it doesn't bother me. I'm not scared. I'm curious. I'm like, what the hell is that? And it keeps doing this, but it's a low. It's a low tone, and then at the end it goes, whoop, it peaked off, and it's still staring at me. So I made it all the way to the fence. I have my hands on the fence, and I'm staring at this, and I'm like, and then my buddy, he's still out there doing his thing. If I know my buddy, he's probably in jail or in prison by now. He was kind of that kid. He was always in trouble. So he was that guy. Yeah, he come up behind me, smacked me with a stick, and I'm like, dude. And he goes, what are you looking at? And I says, what is that? And he goes, what? And I point straight up, and I put my arm right next to his head, and I point. I says, what is that? And he sees it, and then he backs up. He doesn't come all the way up to the fence where I'm at. And I says, what is that? He goes, I don't know. And I go, do you see it? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, what is it? He goes, I don't know. I said, well, you live out here. What is that? And he just keeps saying, I don't know. And it's swaying back and forth, and then it does it again. It did this about 4 or 5 times, just, and if I had to give you a feeling on it, the feeling I felt, and again, I can't tie this to that goofy snake thing earlier, and I talked to you earlier, and you kind of creeped me out about that, but anyway, it did it one more time. It went, and if I had to describe the feeling, the best way I can explain it, as I talked to you before, was when you're playing with a puppy with a treat or a sock or something, or, or a dog, and you don't give it to it enough times, it does that, you know what I mean? That, damn it, give it to me, That was
Right.
the feeling I got. At the time, and again, after talking to you, and it creeps me out a little bit, but at the time, it felt, I had the feeling, and again, I'm stupid little 8-year-old, I had the feeling it wanted to come play. I had no fear at this point. And it was big. It was there, standing there, and again, at this point, because I've been staring at it long enough for, the light in the back and the light from the porch to, get my focus enough. I'm still seeing these glowing eyes, and my buddy's about 2 foot behind me. And at this point, its left arm, and I remember the tree distinctly. It was a tree on the other side of the bank of this little creek, and this creek didn't have but 5 inches of water in it. And at that, it was like a dead branch, a broke branch, but still living, just hanging down. And it was under that, and its left hand came up, and I could see the hair, and I'm focused by this point. Its left hand came up and touched just right under where that little branch break was, branch hang, whatever. I don't know what you call them. It looked like a broken branch, but it was still alive, but it's just hanging wrong. But it was under that, and it put its hand right up under that, and I stick my head forward over that fence like, damn. And I never did ask my buddy, who is that? I'm like, what is that? And I asked him, is it an elk? Is it a cow? Is it? And he's like, no. My apologies. Earlier, I'd say about an hour before this, I get a big stink smell. And, we're out there playing, and the stink stopped me. And I'm like, damn, dude, it reeks out here. And he says, oh, yeah. He says, my mom tells me that the farmer up the field, their cows poop in the stream, and sometimes it comes down through the creek, and you can smell it. Don't know if, and I can't say one way or another. You probably know more about this than me, but I did smell a smell. And
well, let me ask you, did the smell persist, or did it
hit me
and then
it
go away?
Faded. It faded off, and after the smell faded, this was about 15 minutes later is when I seen the eyes.
I'm thinking if it's, if it was, cow manure or something, that would be, I grew up on a farm not that far from Roy. It would persist.
No, this
over
kind of
a
came
time period.
and it went. So, again, 8 years old. I buy that. All right. Cow poop in a stream. Fair enough. Didn't smell like cow poop, though. Believe me, I'm right here in South Puyallup. I go to the fair every year. I know what cow crap smells like. All right? And that's not the smell I remember. What I smelled was disgusting. It was icky, and that's why I mentioned it, because he's got horses out there crapping all over their yard. And, and there's not a giant difference between horse poop and cow poop. They both stink, but they have a distinct flavor or smell,
difference. Whatever
you want to call it. I don't want to say flavor, but anyway. So, but I did mention that, and I'm kind of thinking, looking back again. This was about 40 years ago. I'm 50 now. Again, there was an elderly couple that lived in this house before then. I wished I could talk to them. I think they were just kind of oblivious to this. I think this was happening. They just didn't know. But that's just me and my thinking, looking back, with a little more knowledge and a little more older. But anyway, the smell, pass it off like, all right, cow crap, fair enough, because it came and it went. And, okay, so back to me just fixated on this creature. And again, the silhouette is there. It's not man-shaped. Because I remember distinctly not asking him, who is that? I'm asking him, what is that? I've never been camping, never been in the woods, and I don't know anything about Bigfoot at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I may have seen the Patterson film. Don't know. I can't piece all that together. But I seen what I seen, and man, I'm telling you, again, it's like a GIF you see on the internet. It just rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls. It was a 1 minute thing, and I wish somebody could just plug into my ear and suck this memory out, and I hope we get this technology. you know, because I ain't lying about this. I ain't making this up. And I've told this story. Again, I don't like stories.
Right.
But I've told people, well, okay, okay, I'm ping-ponging around. I'm sorry. Well, anyway.
Well, let me ask you, when you saw the eye shine, was it about
No.
This
was probably about 15 feet above me. Again, this creek from their property.
Really? Okay.
They had a fence, and then there was the creek there, and the creek dropped down about 3 feet, but the other side of the creek went up probably about 8-10 feet. So it was I'm looking up at it. And this was probably 50 to 70 feet, maybe, right around in there. Again, I'm a kid. I don't judge distance real well there. You know, on a football field, maybe a quarter of the football field, close enough to see enough,
right.
You know, and enough to spook me enough, you know. Well, it didn't spook me. That was the thing. I was inquisitive. I walk over to the fence, and my buddy walks up, and what are you looking at? What is that? You know, we get into all of that, and he never gets to where I'm at because he sees it now. And I'm asking him all these questions. What is it? What is it? What is it? I don't know. And it did that for the last time that we heard it anyway. It did that, you know, that wanting sound is what it sounded like, a wanting kind of sound.
Sure.
And all I hear after that it was like the frickin' Three Stooges. I hear just my buddy's beating feet. Well, that fear he had, it jumped into me because I don't know. Oh yeah, his fear jumped right into my chest, and I went, well, damn it! If you don't know what the hell it is, I'm out of here too. So I'm behind him. We run to the porch, head for the door, and it was like the frickin' Three Stooges trying to get into the house. The parents are in at this time. In the meantime, while all this is going down, our parents are playing. You remember gin rummy? It was a big thing back in the day, I guess. You know, they're in there drinking, doing parent things. They're playing gin rummy. We come flying in the house. Hey, Mom, Dad, you got to come see this. You got to come see this. And they're just not having it. You know, they look over and you guys go play. No. There's something out here. You need to come look. You need to come look. You need to come look. They're just like, no, you know, they go play. And we're looking at each other like, well, Jesus Christ, this sucks, you know. So we run down to the hall. His older sister, she was kind of a teenager. She was down the hall. So we run down there and we beat on her door. And Robin was her name. Miller. Miller. I hope they hear this because that's the other need and I need. But anyway, we bang on her door. Robin, you need to come see this. And of course, teenage daughter just got the kid, you know, 8-year-old banging on the door. She ain't having nothing. And it's like, get the hell out of here. And so again, we look at each other like, well, this just all sucks. You know, we come back down the hall. We try one more time. They're all in the living room around the freaking card table playing gin. Gin, you know, that's the next thing I hear. Gin, you know, rummy. My mom yells rummy. You know, it's like, would you guys come look? Ain't happening. Just go play. We look at each other. We walk out to the porch. You know, we didn't want to go back out because now I'm scared because of my friend. He's scared, and I don't know why. So we walk back out. We stand on the porch. We're hugged up to the back door. And the horses are on the porch. This is probably about maybe a 8x12 porch off the back of the house. And we come out, and I go, well, your horses are, you know, I'm looking, and there's a horse to the right of me, and they're under each light, you know, on the porch. And I'm like, you know, hey, are we riding horses or what? But he looked, and he goes, they're not supposed to be up here. So he sticks his head back in the door, and he goes, Mom, the horses are on the porch. She yells, what? He goes, the horses are on the porch. She said, well, shoo them off. And I don't know how this works at their house. You know what I mean? He looks at him, and he goes, sure, shoo. And, of course, we're like 8 years old. You know, these horses are damn near twice as tall as us. Well, his was a little short. His was a little shorter. Yeah. Yeah, he goes, shoo.
They look at you like you're crazy.
He punches his in the chest, and he goes, beat it. Get off the porch. Go. You got to go. And the horses are just hugging the house. And I'm like, and I'm fixated as to where I seen these eye shine things. And it's gone. It's gone. You know, it's not there no more. Well, anyway, the rest of the night was probably another hour and a half. they're not letting us in. But the folks are in drinking, having fun. They don't want us anywhere. The daughter ain't having us in. And, it kind of sucked for us. So we just sat down with the horses by the porch and just hang out until, hey, it's time to go to bed. And we stayed. Well, the horses were there. I said it was maybe a sense of security. The horses weren't leaving the porch, even though he yelled in. Well, again, the folks, this is back in the 70s. And these guys, who knows what they were doing? We all went through the 70s, right? So who knows? Again, looking back, I don't know if they were just drinking. Anyway. You know what I'm saying. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to send my parents out on anything. But
sure,
I think we can assume stuff there. So we hung out on the porch with the horses for a while, and we petted them and just kind of hung there for a little while until they said, well, it's time to go to bed. Well, they never did. They stayed up. And so we went to his room and just went in there and stared at the ceiling. I don't think we slept all night. Just stared at the ceiling. Never talked about it. Just kind of freaked out about it because nobody was listening. Nobody was hearing anything,
Right.
Yeah, well, we walked in and went. So I remember him saying, well, Mom, the horses are still on the porch, and that was probably the last thing I remember. And then the next morning, everybody got up. I think the folks were hungover. Looking back, and they were pretty hungover. They were one eye and everything. And I just remember leaving this place and just on the back seat, back then there was no seatbelt, anything. I just remember staring out the back window at that little pond and to the right of their house, just staring at that. And I never talked about it since. But we did go out there and we could see signs of, there was no footprints or anything, but there was trample down. You could see something was there. Most definitely something was there, obviously. There wasn't hoof prints, it wasn't a cow, it wasn't an elk. I mean, again, at 8 years old, I don't know what's what. Right. But you could see where something was there because everything was patted down. And I remember we looked up at that half-broke, half-alive branch hanging off that tree. And I remember we looked up at it, and it's at least twice as tall as us. And, at 8 years old, what are you, 4 feet? So that's probably 8 feet.
Wow.
And this thing was a little under that. So I would give this thing between 6.5 and 7.5 feet looking back. I just remember the arm came up and touched the crook of that branch, which was just a little bit above its head, and it touched that. And that's kind of when I got a little freaked out too. And that's when I heard my buddy just start beating feet. I got a little freaked out.
So you got to look at it.
No, I didn't get a lot of detail. I got a very good. So it definitely wasn't a person. It was not a man standing there. The eyes were. The freaking eye shine I seen was, I want to say close to golf ball size. Not quite big enough to see. It was only you could almost see to the back of its head. It was kind of odd. You could really, really see deep into him. And it would sway, and then it would dim out, and it would sway to the right, and it would dim out. And I'm assuming it's from the floodlights they had, and it just swayed back and forth and just did this little, I want to call it a wanting grunt.
And with primates, that behavior is a sign of agitation.
Yeah,
that's what primates do
at
in the
8,
wild when they're agitated.
I don't know that. I mean, I was intrigued by it.
You wouldn't have known that.
He flipped out. If the goddamn fence in the stupid creek wasn't there, I'd have probably walked right to it. I would have walked right up. I'm that guy that comes out of the store and there's 2 big Rottweilers in the back of a pickup truck. I walk right up to him and grab him by the cheeks and go, "Oh, good puppy."
Sure.
And then I hear the owner going, "Get the hell away from them dogs. They'll chew your face off." And I look over and go, well, they're not, and they're happy puppies. I kind of have a thing with animals, and it might be the death of me. I don't know. But I just did. I had no fear. Again, I love your underwear changing moment. I love the stories. I didn't have that, but looking back on life, it was I want a life directing moment. It wasn't. It did, I don't think it changed my life. It was kind of the best way I can explain it, I guess. It was it directed me. Anybody that knows me from day one, anything Bigfoot, in search of finding this, blah 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 blah, I'm watching it. No matter how stupid it is, how comical it is, or how legit it is, I'm on it.
Right.
My girlfriend is my best proponent. She goes, I fully believe you. And she is an avid camper. And I've told her a million times, let's go camping. I said, I'm not going camping. I've gone. I prefer to stay to the state parks and whatnot, just because of this. Because I know there's something out there, and I don't want any more part of it. Now that I've gotten a little more knowledge and a little more older and a little more wiser, I don't want no part of it. I'll go camping with you, but we're going here. Oh no, let's go to Skate Creek. Let's go to Wapato. I think you know all these places, and I'm like, no, I got this nice tent. I said, I'm not sleeping in the tent. I've gone once or twice. I sleep outside the tent with my shotgun. Why won't you sleep in the tent? And my quote, and I'll quote it today, and I'll quote it till the day I die, is I'm not going to be a sack lunch for a Sasquatch. It's not happening. Well, I took a friend of mine, and he took us camping, and this was up on the way to Mount St. Helens, the park up there. And yes, exactly. My parents were caretakers at Silver Lake there for a long time. Cowlitz Valley Wildlife League. I'll even tell you exactly where it's at. I know many people on the. I can even maybe at another time I can tell you a ton of stuff. Now looking back, that I've been all over that place. But anyway, we'll stay focused. They took us camping up there. This was long before they were caretakers there or anything. They just loved the place and decided to retire there. And my mom still lives there in Kelso. And my stepdad has since passed on. God rest his soul. Not a believer, by the way. But anyway, we camped there, and he had a little one of them tent trailers that pop out on either side. They pop up, and there's a tent on either side. Well, we were there at the park, and we stayed the night, whatnot, having a good time. Everything was good, and it was bed down time. And me and my buddy, and you could pull down little curtains, between the folks on the other side and you on that side, and a little kitchen like in the middle. So we're sitting there. And I look up behind my buddy, and I see the little tent portion of his thing. And they had little windows on them you could pull down. It was kind of plastic behind them, but like a little zipper thing you could open up and look out. But we were all zipped up. And I just remember seeing it. It's coming in real slow. It's just coming in. It's coming in. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I think we kind of connected. And I go, what's that? And this thing's coming in. He kind of rolls over, looks straight up like, damn. Well, I reach over, and I touch it, and it goes, and just sucks away.
Did you hear anything outside the
just before that, we hear this giant, and again, I'm going to sound like an idiot, this big sniff, because I can't do it. It was the deepest sniff I've ever heard. It'd be like taking a 55-gallon drum and squeezing it like a whoopee cushion, you know what I mean? Just this big sniff. Right. And I remember, that was what initiated it. We looked at each other, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of creepy. But it was right after that first initial sniff sound, that little tent wall was coming in, and I touched it, and it went away. And then on my side, same thing. It's just deep sniff. And I'm like, well, this ain't good. And I look at his eyes, and his eyes are as big as saucers. And he points, and I look up, just what happened to him, same damn thing. And I put my hand on it. I did the same thing. Put my hand on it, it just retracts instantly. Just disappears. And I'm like, well, this is creepy. And this happened about, I'd say 5-6 times. It just kept happening back and forth. When it got from like my side to the middle of the tent, because it sloped on the one side. It never happened on that slope side, but it was just on either side of us. And we just kept hearing this. And it's like, the last time it happened was right above my buddy, and I just boom, I put my hand right on it, and I could feel resistance, definite resistance, and again, it sucks back. His eyes are like saucers. He goes, "What the hell is that?" And I just looked him straight in the face. My encounter that I just told you about kind of popped in my mind. I looked at him. I said, "Dude, it's Bigfoot."
I was just wondering what
it was
your
all
thought
I
was
had
at
to
the
draw
time,
on. I've never seen a
you were
bear. I've
thinking
never
at that
seen
time.
anything in the wild. This was kind of really my first camping
Sure.
adventure. You know what I mean? And it's a state park, and I don't know if you really consider that wilderness camping, but it was the best I'd been, other than Roy, 8-10 years earlier. Well, anyway, I just looked at him, I guess, kind of with a half-assed grin, going, "That's Bigfoot, dude." Well, that freaked him out, and that freaked me out. And again, we laid there, and it quit. So we laid there just staring at the tent, staring at the ceiling all night. Never told the folks, never nothing. Got up. We're sleepless. Well, that morning we get up. A couple people are cooking breakfast. There was probably, I think there was about 4 to 5 groups of people there, in various campsites. And again, my memory, forgive me, I don't know if it was a game warden, forestry service guy, a dude in uniform, Smokey the Bear uniform, and
Somebody
ruffled
official,
everybody up. Kind of went to each campsite and kind of got everybody to the little main road between their little road, and you camp on either side of it, and kind of got everybody to the road and said, "Did anybody hear or see anything strange last night?" He kind of went one by one around to everybody. It was the first family. "Oh, no, we didn't. No, everything was fine. We slept great." And he just goes round and round. And this whole time, me and my buddy are looking at each other like, "Wait a minute. Oh, boy, I can't wait till he gets to me, Well, he gets to us. He goes, "Anybody hear anything strange or, see anything last night?" And I raised my hand, being in school. I raised my hand. He goes, What do you got, son?"
Sure.
He goes, "What do you got, son?" And I said, "Well, last night, we heard a big sniff sound and something pushing on the tent." And he looked straight at it, and I, no less that I got that out of my mouth. He goes, "Oh, well, there was a bear in here last night." And the rest of the people, go, "Oh, God." You know what I mean? That kind of, you hear the wives go, "Oh, Lord." You know what I mean? "There was a bear in here." He goes, "Yeah." He said somebody had given us a call and reported a bear, here in the park. Now, looking back, and of course, at this point, me and my buddy go, "Damn, a bear was pushing on our tent. Awesome." You know what I mean? This is kind of exciting. Wow. Well, now looking back,
Right.
there's no goddamn phones in these campsites. There's no, like on the bridge, the emergency, I'm going to jump phone. There was no cell phones. So looking back, I'm like, who the hell reported this and got him out there?
From what you said, he came around and asked people if they heard or saw anything strange. And when there's a bear in the area,
well,
that's the first thing.
Yeah,
they'll say, there's a bear in the area.
Hindsight's always
You know what I mean?
20/20.
That
I mean,
was
looking
two different
back at it,
approaches.
why didn't this man walk in and go, "Hey, we heard there was a bear in the camp last night. Did anybody see it?" No, this
Exactly.
guy,
and that's
this
exactly
guy tickled
my point.
everybody
That's
and
how
eluded
they would
around.
do it.
And of course, me and my buddy, we don't give a crap. Man, we'll just tell you straight up. Yeah, there was something sniffing outside our tent and pushing on the stuff. Oh, it was a bear.
Sure.
I mean, it literally that quick. As soon as he got acknowledgement, bam, it was a bear. And again, look, and we bought it, hook, line, sinker. Ah, cool. And again, you hear the wives, on the other side of the street going, "Oh my," And, the 2 of them packed up that night, said, "Well, we're out." We stayed another night. There was nothing else after that. There was nothing else. So, who knows? Government come in, chase them away, whatever. I don't know. All I can do is just share my story with you.
Pretty interesting.
And I think this probably been going on for a long time, man. It was just kind of odd. I mean, from listening to you and shows and encounters, it makes you look back a little bit and go, well, damn, that kind of all didn't add up.
Well, there's a lot in details, when, especially like I mentioned, when you're out camping and a ranger comes around, and if there's been a bear in the area or a cougar or something, they'll come right up and tell you. That way you're alerted, you can be careful. But when they ask questions, before, asking if you heard something, that's a whole different,
looking back, they were trying to draw something out. And I'm not, again, the only bear I ever seen was a picture that a buddy gave me, and he brought me a steak, and it was pretty damn delicious. So, with that said,
sure. And you can't say for sure that it was a Bigfoot, obviously, but usually when bears come through a camp, they're kind of noisy. They're not really careful. They if they find something, they dig it open to get the food. And
again, being older and wiser, this is a little tent trailer. It's about an 8-foot tent trailer, that kicked out on either side. And I'm thinking a bear, I don't think can stand up and just play with me back and forth and just gingerly push this canvas in.
Let me ask you: did you have any food that would have been open where a bear would? There
was stuff around. Well, there was other people too, that all had stuff out. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure had left pots and pans out.
Sure, I think a bear would have gone through that. And
that's the thing. Not
the tent with people in it.
And that's another thing I believe. If I recall right, he asked, "Is anything missing?" There was nothing missing, no destruction, no nothing. Mm-hmm. But, kind of looking back, there's coffee pots out. There was frying pans over fires and all that kind of good stuff that would, I'm sure, bring a bear in. But the last time it did it, I put my hand directly on it because it's kind of creepy at this point. I'm kind of had enough. I'm looking at my buddy's eyes. Yeah. I can see, his blue eyes, his white, and, his goddamn eyelids, a quarter inch around them. Like, what the hell's going on? Looking at me like I'm supposed to know. And I'm like, I don't know. So I just smack whatever's pushing in on this tent. I just, not smack, but touch it and push. And there was definite resistance there. And I'm thinking a bear, they can be ginger. But I don't think a bear was so ginger that it could have done this 4 or 5 times, so methodical and so ginger. I mean, it was slow, dude. I'm telling you, it was real slow. Right. So slow that you couldn't detect it unless you were looking at it. And I seen it first above my buddy that all of a sudden, just this tent part above his head was damn near pushed in over his head. He's sleeping up against that wall. I'm up against this side of the wall, and it's like out and in over his head. Right. And I'm like, dude. And he looks up, and he's kind of looking straight up at the tent pushed in. I mean, if a bear jumped up, I think this goddamn whole thing would have done a turn. Could you put him on them cheesy little, this was back in 80 something. You know what I mean? If a bear jumped up there, it just would have knocked the whole tent, and a noise would have been made, and the damn thing would have beat feet. Looking back, if I had to guess, if I think somebody was just screwing with us, it was like they held maybe an 8-10 inch frying pan and pushed it against it, is what it looked like.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting around to is the size doesn't really indicate bear either, because a bear's paw isn't really much different.
Again, I've seen this at least 3 times myself, and if I had to compare it, again, it's not real vivid, but again, you're trying to figure things out. You don't know what the hell is going on. Maybe old Uncle Joe's drunk over there and, trying to hold himself up. I don't know. And it wasn't a frying pan. It wasn't a perfect circle. But there was something slowly moving that thing in, man. It was creepy. It was creepy.
That's pretty intriguing, though, Yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about what you were telling me about your
I totally
mother.
Will, and I have talked to her, and I've told her about you. She said she has more than what I can tell you, and if you'd like to talk to her, I can set you up with her.
Okay.
She's a great lady. She said,
"Yeah, that's great."
She's just by herself in Kelso. She sticks in her house. Again, after this whole spotted owl, I think we all know Kelso, Washington, Kelso Longview. Took a dip, and it's kind of, I call it Bethlehem.
Sure.
He knows that.
I have a pretty good friend that lives in.
Then there's a lot of goddamn guys on bicycles with backpacks and tools just to drive around all night long looking for stuff, car prowls, this and that. It used to be a sweet town, but it's taken a turn since the industry dipped. I think they still a
Right.
paper
Absolutely.
mill there, or at least a wood mill there, something. There's not much left. You either own a business or you work for the business.
What? Right. Well, tell me what it was that she was
Well,
telling
she
you
sits
about.
there, and she has
scanners.
a scanner. And again, we got her the little, special crystal chip that you're not supposed to have. You know what I'm talking about. It's an old Radio Shack one, but once you're in, you're in. We won't say
Sure.
much more about that. But and I get caught up with it, with her too, sitting
Right.
down there. Oh, and she's so familiar with it. Oh, yep. There's Jim up the road. He's drunk again. I call it a third sense. That scanner will be going off. For me, it's white noise, but she actually hears it and watches TV at the same time. So it's kind of funny. But again, after talking to you and kind of explained to her, because I tried getting a little information as to, my encounter and this and that. And she goes, oh, I remember all this and the can and the snakes and all the crap. And she goes, she says, since talking to you, she never bought into any of this crap. And mostly because of my stepdad. He was one that we're the masters. There's nothing else. And that was it. Well, he's gone now. And so her mind's opening up a little more. She's
Right.
been that way, but suppressed. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, she sits and listens to the scanner. And she goes, Dwayne, and the last time I'm talking to her, this was 2 nights ago. She says, since the last time I talked to her, because after I talked to you, I called her and tried to get a little more information. And she ended her conversation with, thanks for the information, Dwayne. And I says, no, Mom, this is just stuff that's out there, you just go look it up. It's, Well, anyway, and then she calls me back. And she called me, and I ignored her because, she's Mom. Sometimes they can get annoying. My bad. And I ignored a few calls, but she calls me back. I finally answered. She goes, man, I'm glad you answered. She goes, after talking to you, she goes, there's been many, many times I sit here and I listen to this scanner, and there's all those homeless people and bums, she calls them bums, down on the river that call all the time and say, there's a Bigfoot down here, or there's a Sasquatch down here. And she says, and again, she has the special chip, so she has the side channels and stuff. I'm going to get in trouble. But she says the police instantly laugh. She goes, they just laugh. And she says, more often than not, they just say, we're not going. We're not going to go. We've heard this before. They do. They just blow it off. And again,
they just blow it off.
People down in their luck, hey, crackheads, tweaks, whatever you want to call them, doesn't mean they can't see it too. And now, mind you, this is the Cowlitz River. It's I don't know if you've ever been there. There's quite a stretch on either side of that river, right through that area.
Oh yeah, I live.
Well, it's pretty damn wooded. There's a good 100 yards
years.
from like the train tracks to the river, and then again on the other side, there is quite a a green tract there. And we know where that river goes. It comes Mount St. Helens, all that.
Right.
And, so she hears this. She says she's heard it multiple times, and the police just laugh, and they say, we ain't going. And she hears it, and believe you me, dude, I'm going to do a little research for you. Next time I'm down there, I'm just going to set my phone down or get my little recorder and just listen to this, and I would love to capture one for you, just to send to you, that they laugh at.
That'd be pretty interesting. You made a good point when we talked earlier about that is, the fact that those folks
they don't.
really want
these
the
are
police
all
coming down there.
people that don't want any contact with the police. That's the last person so when one of them calls them, it's got to be real. Something has to happen. They're
right, because typically they've got drugs or whatever,
exactly.
for whatever reason.
They would prefer the police just stay on the other side of the train tracks, and it's all good. But when just say every other week, somebody's saying, hey, there's a monster down here. There's a Bigfoot. And my mom said a lot of times they say, there's a Bigfoot down here. Could you come check it out? And she tells me that, and I've heard, and I can interpretate enough from my mom, because I've again, I can't help but hear it because it's on 24/7 while I'm down there, and you kind of get used to it. And you do hear them laugh about things, and I've heard it.
Sure.
So I can totally believe her when she says, hey, could you guys come, dispatch gets on the police, gets on with the police, and they go, well, we got another one down at the river that says he sees a Bigfoot. And then dude comes back, 10-9, whatever. And then they get it.
Isn't that pretty interesting, though? I mean, it's gotten to be so routine with them that they say, we've got another one.
And this is what my mom has told me.
But they totally
and
ignore
again, if you want, I've talked to her, and she's more than willing to talk to you about this. She's heard it over and over. She's been down there 30 years and has heard this, and she's been blowing this scanner this whole time. So
sure.
She's got more stories than I can tell you. I'm secondhand information.
I would love to talk to her.
Not the best. She'll tell you straight up, and with no BS. She'll tell you straight up. She's straightforward. She'll tell you straight up what she's heard over and over and over. If you don't waver from a story, she's a sweetheart.
She sounds like a pretty interesting lady to talk to.
And I've kind of sparked her into. Like I say, she's blown it off. Doesn't believe in the least. But told her my story. Told her that I've talked to you guys, and I finally get to share it. I finally shared the story with her, heart to heart, face to face, and she believes it. And then now and it's kind of funny how this rolls. Is she's busted open now, and says, well, Dwayne, I hear this all the time on the scanner down here. And I says, well, Mom, the area where you live was shut down because of an owl that I can't go see tomorrow. And I explained to her, I said, go on the internet, spend 10 minutes looking up Bigfoot. Go on the internet, spend 10 minutes looking up a spotted owl. Then spend another hour finding out where you can go see either one. I said, I bet you it's exactly the same. I'll bet you can't go see a spotted owl tomorrow. I said, I'll come down there and drive you to it, but where are you going to go see one? Think it was their test. Because here we are 30 years later, I have to remind people of the spotted owl and the whatever it was, the blue-tailed scarlet. There was another bird they threw in on that too. I really don't believe it now. I think it was a test to see how people would react, what impact it would have. I think they were protecting Sasquatch. I think it was a test, and what better place than just podunk nowhere.
Well, listen, Dwayne, we're just about out of time. Any final thoughts?
Just keep going. Do what you're doing. I love it. This is all great. Again, giant weight off my shoulders. I love to share this with everybody. Again, I'm a 50-year-old man. I, spent a good 30 years convincing myself what I seen never happened. And if I have to give any of these stupid shows credit, it is bringing it to the forefront, and it did help me tell my story. It helped me bring it back up. I don't buy what they're doing.
I certainly appreciate it, and I know listeners out there will appreciate it, because when people like yourself, and even myself, when I began telling my accounts, I can't tell you how many times people have contacted me and told me what happened to them. They just want to get it off their shoulders.
Yeah, he flipped out and left.
Yeah,
he said I looked into the show that you told me about. He came in, did a oogie boogie at lunchtime. I haven't seen him since. It's been a week. He's out. Yeah, he flipped. And he was pretty passionate about it.
Wow. So he'll come around.
I'll comfort him. I'd love to get him a hold of you. He's got your information. He'll come back.
And again, before we wrap this up, everybody, if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can get in touch with me at my personal email, williamjevning@yahoo.com. We can talk about this on the show or off the show. It's your preference. I have every respect for people's right to privacy. So if you don't want your story known, that's great. If you do, that's great too, because like yours, Dwayne, it's therapeutic for the witness. It's also therapeutic for other people who haven't felt comfortable to tell their account. And it really is something that kind of gets bottled up in you, and telling it sort of gets it out.
And if I can tagline that,
to deal with it.
Just tell your story. I don't care if people believe you or not. Just tell it. Just tell it. Just don't give a crap that I went through 40 years of eye rolls, and yes, I believe yous, and we know it's crap. But just tell your story. Tell your story, and God bless you for an avenue like this to get it out. Just do it. Anybody listening, just tell it. Even if it sounds crazy, just tell it.
We'll chat again soon.
Happy holidays, man. God love.
Thank you, Dwayne.
And hope your New Year's good. I hope to talk to you before then, but anyway.
Thanks, everyone, for joining me this week. Be sure to tune in again next week as we explore another account from a witness of the unknown.